Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is episode 82 on the Oakley Podcast, Trucking, Business, and Family. Today, we are going to talk about insurance. Now, hang on, before you change the channel or hit stop on this, I want you to stay tuned because we're going to get in depth with some insurance with Oakley too, and I've got an insurance expert here that's going to clarify a lot of things, make things simple for a lot of us to understand, especially like me, and it's going to really be good. I got Trent Tillman with TrueNorth Insurance and Financial Strategies is joining me, and we're going to go over things like, what is trucking insurance, basically compared to everything else in the world. We're going to talk about trip insurance, how it affects safety, what Oakley offers, just a lot of stuff that we're going to get into today. And I really want you to stay tuned and listen to this stuff because, we hear about insurance and, man, we just automatically get confused sometimes. And it helps to simplify a few things, and especially how you as an owner-operator, the role you play in insurance and how big that role is. So going to get to that in just a minute, but first I want to give you an Oakley update, and this Oakley update is sponsored by Arrow Truck Sales. Couple things here on the Oakley update. One is I want everybody to just remember a lot of our drivers because we have an unusual amount of our owner-operators that are off. And you ask what for? Well, there's a lot of them off with COVID and have been off with COVID different times of this year, and it has affected them tremendously. We've had a lot of guys with truck problems. As a lot of you guys know that are listening, truck problems is running rampant, waiting on parts, etc., and other health issues. And, I think it made me think of this, actually, when I was at church in my Sunday school class, and we talk about these things and who we need to be thinking about and praying for. And I thought, we got a lot of owner-operators, and we got a lot of you guys that are friends and want to help each other out. And I don't have specifics with me today, but just remember, a lot of our owner-operators have tough times out there. We all run into tough times, and just remember them if you can. And if there's any way, we can help as a company. You let us know if you're one of those that's having and going through a tough time. So also St. Louis terminal. We have a terminal up in St. Louis, Missouri we're needing some local owner-operators up there. That would be fantastic if we had some guys that can run around St. Louis. We've got a lot of freight up there that's working for us. So if you know anybody that's interested in the St. Louis job terminal as an owner-operator pulling Oakley's trailer, a lot of stuff going on up there. Be sure and get in touch with recruiting. And also other dedicated lanes. We're really trying hard to get some other dedicated lanes all over the country, and we're doing that. So ask your dispatcher if there's anything in your area because you never know what comes up, and it may be right up your alley where you can get a dedicated lane, and that's what a lot of people are looking for, to get you a little more home time and still make the money. Also on Oakley Update, I always like to recognize somebody. One of our owner-operators has been with us a long time, and this guy here has gone above and beyond taking care of customers and taking care of equipment. I couldn't tell you, but his name is Winston Guest. He goes by Yamaha. His truck's number 9739. He drives a 2007 Western Star, and he's been with us 24 years. Just a fantastic owner-operator that I was asking his dispatcher before I come up here what he thought about him. And, of course, he had all kind of stuff. He's a hard worker. He's high energy. He's awesome. Winston had last year, maybe 2 years ago, I can't even remember now, time flies, but he retired. That lasted about a month or two. And if you know Winston, he has got to work and he's got to stay busy. And, he used to be on a dedicated run from Tennessee out to from Memphis to Lebanon years ago. He did that for years. He takes care of our equipment. The man has he puts his own tires on our trailer. He washes the trailer himself. He just takes pride in being part of the Oakley family, and I can't tell you enough how much we appreciate Winston Guest as an Oakley owner-operator and being here 24 years. Congratulations, Winston. Let's hear from our sponsor, Arrow Truck Sales. Go see Keith Wilson and Trey Visor at Arrow Truck Sales in Springfield, Missouri. Over the past 8 years, Arrow has built a great working relationship with Oakley Trucking. They specialize in getting new owner-operators approved for trucks and upgrading existing ones. Carrying a wide selection of all makes and models, they pride themselves with helping customers through every step of buying a used truck, including service after the sale. Listen to new Oakley owner-operator and Arrow customer Sean McMahon.
Yeah, it's my first time being an owner-operator, so it was first for me, and they made it real easy for me. I wound up getting a 2018 579 Peak with the Cummins 450 and a 13-speed. I worked hauling cars for 15 years, and I've been driving about 23 years. Yeah, I would send everybody I know to Mr. Keith over there at Arrow Truck Sales. I've had a really good experience with him, and first kind of guy.
When you go see Arrow Truck Sales in Springfield, Missouri, tell them you heard this ad on the Oakley Podcast, and they will give you half off your first payment when financing through transport funding. Give Keith Wilson and Trey Visor a call at 573-216-6047. Okay, let's get started and talk a little insurance with Mr. Trent Tillman. How you doing, Trent?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Trent, give our listeners a little bit of history on you,
sure.
If you would, and that way they know who's talking to them.
You bet. Well, so Trent Tillman, I'm Executive Vice President of the Transportation Division at TrueNorth. And so TrueNorth's an insurance brokerage and financial strategies firm. We're based out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We've been in business 20 years. Transportation is the largest area of focus for our firm. So we've got about 550 total employees. We've got 110 solely focused in trucking. From a revenue perspective, trucking represents more like, so that's 20% of our people, represents more like 45% of our revenue. So it's our largest single industry focus. We're one of the largest insurance brokers focused in the trucking segment in the U.S.
Nice.
So we kind of approach the trucking world, and there's really kind of two areas that we're highly focused. One is working with the motor carrier on their risk placements and programs, and then also we carved off a niche years ago working with motor carriers with big fleets of owner-operators and helping them design specialty insurance offerings for their independent contractor owner-operators.
Nice.
That can be value creative for the owner-operator, protect the independent contractor, but also at the same time protect the motor carrier. So that's
Where are you from?
Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So we're based there. I grew up in Des Moines, went to the University of Northern Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
Started at TrueNorth right out of college here about almost 19 years ago. So it's been my entire career. Started off in the transportation division, carrying the briefcase.
That's all you know then,
That's
isn't it?
all I know, yeah. Yeah.
They've brainwashed you like they have me here at Oakley, right?
Yes, exactly.
Family? You got a family?
We do, yeah. So my wife, Brittany, and I, we've been married 12 years. We've got 3 kids, 3 daughters. So our oldest is 10. She's in 4th grade, and twin daughters that are just turned 7, and they're in 1st grade. So
wow,
we're busy.
Twin daughters. That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
We
Yes.
got a dispatcher here. Bradley's got twins.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I've got a son. I've got 2 sons, yep. Cole and Clay, and of course they're grown now. I can't believe it, but one of them's 23 and 21. Yep. Of course, listeners probably don't care about this, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. My oldest son, Cole Kellett, he got a degree at UCA in finance and economics, and just recently, about 3 months ago, he got a job and moved to New York City.
Okay. Yep.
On purpose, Trent.
Yeah.
Did this on purpose. So my son from little old town Valonia, Arkansas, has moved to New York City, and I talked to him the other day, and I said, "Son, how's it going?" He said, "Dad, I'm living the dream."
Really? That's good for him.
I said, "Good for you, son.
That's
I'm
awesome.
proud of you, because he asked me, he said, when he got the job, and he said, "Dad, if you got a job when you were 23 and single, would you move to New York City?" I said, "No way, son. Have you lost your mind?" But he did. I'm so proud of him, and he's doing great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, checked in on him the other day, and the only thing, of course, they're working him to death, but the only other thing he's doing is fighting mice right now. He's got trying to catch mice. I like it. He's like, "Dad, how'd I catch these things?" I said, "A little peanut butter stuff."
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, back on insurance, I get sidetracked very easily, as you'll see through this podcast, Trent. But insurance is what you do every day.
Yep.
Trucking is what I do every day. How does that come together? I mean, it's a big part. I don't think our listeners understand how big a part insurance is in the trucking
Sure.
world. And can you help explain that?
Yeah, maybe an easier way to think about what we do is we're helping companies and individuals manage risk. Okay, and so you think about the purchase of insurance. That's an event that occurs once a year. You got your renewal, you got to buy your insurance, you get it locked down. You're moving on. But it's what you do in those other 364 days of the year that impact your insurability. It impacts your cost of insurance on a go-forward basis. And so we're really doing two things. We're working with trucking companies like Oakley, where we're working with y'all on your corporate liability programs. But then we're very much ingrained with the team on helping with strategies around safety, helping to understand where there's kind of maybe hot pockets or hot opportunities inside the fleet where we could focus our energy there to help drivers get safer, be safer, have less incidents, accidents. And then if we can do that well, we drive down the cost of risk for Oakley. We also drive down the cost for the independent contractors. So the contractors experience that in really two ways. The fewer claims we have on those independent contractor insurance programs allows us to ultimately focus on driving down the cost of the premiums that the contractors are paying for. Same time is the fewer claims that we can ultimately end up having within Oakley as a whole, basically the Oakley's cost of insurance goes down. Your cost of claims goes down because there's a pretty large, because of the size of Oakley, there's a large self-insured component that is in place. Right. And so when we can do that and we can improve the bottom line for Oakley, ultimately it allows you all to afford to pay your drivers more.
Right.
So we're really focused on those kind of couple areas of really driving safety. And so if we can drive safety, drive efficiency with some other stuff we're doing with y'all, our hope is then there's more profits, if you will, to share with the contractors, and we're driving down that cost of insurance as well.
I think about this, and I wrote this down: insurance in the trucking world compared to the rest of insurance, and it actually makes me a little mad because you don't see billboards that says, "Have you been hit by a Tahoe? Call me. I'm an attorney." It's if you've been hit by a big truck.
That's right.
I mean, it's almost like if you've seen a accident in a big truck, call me. That's and right. I'll get you paid. Does that not play a big part in it? It
does. Yeah, in the last 5 years, maybe 10, but 5 and even less, it's accelerating. You see more and more of those signs. They've been out there for a while, but what you've got is, a lot of the attorneys that used to chase big tobacco or medical malpractice claims shifted their energy to the trucking industry. And so what they found is that juries are very favorable for a plaintiff. So we've had an increase of what we call nuclear verdicts across the industry over the last handful of years that have really stressed the insurance industry.
Why do you think that is? Is that because they're not educated on trucking?
Yeah, I think it's a lack of education on trucking. I think that you've got, in a roundabout way, trucking defense was kind of caught flat-footed and didn't expect some of these attorneys to enter. And you've got some of the best plaintiff attorneys in the country now targeting the industry. On top of it, you got a lot of big trucking. Some of the larger trucking companies have just really high limits of liability, and so they figured out that they could be successful in winning these cases, and they were shooting for, not just $1 million, but 10, 20, 50. Yeah. There's a couple verdicts out there now that are over $100 million.
Wow.
And what that's done over the last few years is really, again, it's stressed the insurance industry, and it's driven up the cost of insurance for trucking companies themselves everywhere. It's created...
because now y'all are feared to have or the insurance company is feared to have a nuclear verdict. Well, that's...
Yep. So the insurance industry is responding by increasing the cost of insurance, raising rates. Also, they're providing less limits, so they're not providing as big a what we call an insurance tower as they used to, and they're requiring motor carriers to take higher deductibles. So all three of those factors kind of pull back on what insurance is available to try to address this risk. our role is we're an insurance broker. So we're not the ultimate insurance company. We're representative of most every insurance company that does write truck. And so we're the intermediary is the best way to put that, right? We've been working very closely with the ATA, the American Trucking Association, as well as then the insurance industry itself, to try to get more on offense around this. What really needs to occur is what I call tort reform, meaning at the state level, and this is what's happened in other industries. At the state level, where we can try to get some laws passed that cap what can be paid out on these types of deals.
Right. That needs to happen. I mean,
it does. Yeah. And so one of our partners, Dan Cook, is actually leading an ATA task force, and we've got the insurance industry engaged. We've got motor carriers engaged, and we're working with the state trucking associations and trying to target states that are more favorable or open-minded to this type of legislation. And we're getting some traction. We're starting to see some wins occur. And the hope is that we can get be a snowball effect, that over time we can get states to pass some laws to create some reasonableness in these types of claims, because without it, it's just going to continue to just spiral the cost of insurance for trucking companies.
And what's the minimum? I mean, $1 million most every.
Yeah, technically $750,000 is the minimum.
If you're a solo owner-operator, you got your own authority, you're going to have that.
And most everybody has $1 million, and then if you're hauling hazmat, you got to have $5 million.
Yeah.
So those are your minimums.
And in our personal vehicles, it's what, $25,000-$50,000.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot less. Yeah.
Golly. Get a little more, maybe specific. I think it'd be good to let our listeners know what Oakley offers, and I can tell some of that too. But and how that. What we're offering there and how that plays a part in the overall picture, maybe in safety too. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so kind of a quick rundown of, the different coverages that are available to the independent contractors of Oakley. The first that kind of in the life cycle, if you will, that's available is we've got a program together for you guys. It's called a trip policy. So it allows the independent contractor to come from wherever they're at today to get to here. So it's a very short-term liability policy and physical damage policy. So they're covering their liability in their truck so that they can, leave wherever they're at, be covered, get to Oakley, go through orientation, and then once they're onboarded, obviously they're falling under your auto liability.
Right.
And then that kind of switches to then we have the kind of the standard package, if you will, of coverages available, optional for the independent contractors. So the first is non-trucking liability, which is a policy for, again, think about while they're operating in the business of trucking, the liability coverage itself
takes care of most of everything.
That's right. Your auto liability is covering their risk, but there's just a small amount of time where they're not in the business of trucking, and so this non-truck liability policy provides the liability coverage to the independent contractor while they're
and that smaller time is at home, not working.
That's right.
I use the truck to go to the grocery store. I took my grandkids for a ride.
Exactly.
Is that kind of what that is? What that is, yes. To where the overall liability coverage of having at Oakley would not cover that.
Right.
So they have to have that
non-trucking.
Non-trucking is what we call it.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly. So that's the first, and that's pretty standard in the industry. That's required by the independent contractor operating agreement. The contract they have with you, or really what any owner operator might have with another motor carrier. It's a pretty standard requirement that they procure that.
So we got trip insurance, we got physical damage, we got non-trucking, OCAC.
That's right.
Occupational accidental insurance.
Yep.
Which is they get hurt on the job.
That's right. Yep. Physical damage for their truck. So the physical damage covers the actual damage to their tractor.
Yep.
The occupational accident insurance is, we coin that as work injury insurance. That's kind of our TrueNorth term for it. But that's, if they get hurt while on the job, it provides kind of three things. There's a death benefit if they were to lose their life.
That's something that we, not a lot of them know, and unfortunately we've had to use that a couple times.
Well, yeah. So
that life insurance is embedded in that OCAC, and it's 30 or 35.
There's kind of two components, and I'll kind of back up. The occupational accident there's an accidental death and dismemberment. So, and that's if they were to lose their life in the business of trucking, right?
Right.
There's a disability component. So if they get disabled, there's going to be disability payments to them. And then there's the medical component that covers all their medical expenses associated with that injury. Then what we've also done is we've built a secondary life insurance policy that's bolted on to the OCAC product that provides life coverage regardless of,
working or not.
That's right. Yeah, because what we had years ago, we had a few folks that unfortunately passed away of heart attacks, but they were sleeping in their cab overnight, and they didn't get hurt in an accident, right? So it's not an accident coverage, and they didn't have any life benefit, and so we had a few of those occur. Actually, we kind of had a string of about 5 of those within a 6-month period of time here at Oakley. And this is probably 7-8 years ago, and Dennis Oakley, being the generous guy he is, he took care of those families. But they had a conversation with us was, is there something we could build that would address this? And so we went ahead and got creative and built basically a tag-along policy that's bolted onto the OCAC policy. So anybody that's buying occupational accident through the Oakley program today has a full-time life insurance policy that's sitting alongside of it. And that's, to your point, that's $35,000.
I think that's awesome too, to have that. Hopefully, you never have to use it, but
yep.
I know we have had to a few times.
Yeah, unfortunately we have.
Unfortunately, for sure.
Yeah.
What about the back up on the physical damage? I was going to put you on the spot here. So, what's the top problems or top claims, I guess you'd say, on physical damage that y'all see?
Motor vehicle accidents would be probably number one. Guys, that's where you're going to have the most. On occasion you'll have single vehicle type rollovers, et cetera. We'll have that. We've had a couple occasions within Oakley over the years of guys are working on their truck, and something's going wrong. With the electrical system. We've had fires.
Yeah,
we've had a few trucks burn up on guys' front yards. We've had some of that before. Animal strikes is a big one, actually. Yeah. We've had hundreds of deer claims over the years, so we get a lot of that too.
Y'all not going to make it mandatory to have one of those big bull things in the front of the truck, are you?
No, that's at the discretion of the
That'd probably be a good idea, though, I'll tell you.
They do their job.
Yeah, they do. They help a lot.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, especially with the price of trucks and what they're getting.
That's right, yeah.
All right, so we got trip insurance, physical damage, non-trucking, OCAC.
Yep.
And then the life insurance in the OCAC. What else we got?
So the non-truck and the physical damage in the OCAC, those are what I would coin as kind of the big three, right?
Yeah.
That's you're required by contract with Oakley to have non-truck and occupational accident, either through Oakley or through a third party, as long as they meet the minimum standards of the operating agreement. Physical damage then is the third of the big three, right? And so typically, that's required if the guy has a lease or a loan from somebody. But most all independent contractors want to procure it anyway because they got a very valuable asset, so you're going to want to protect that. So those are the big three. And then we've got some other components then that we kind of sit alongside of it. One is we have a passenger accident offering. So for your owner-operators that do take a passenger along with them, we have a passenger basically a policy that protects that passenger in the event they get hurt while out on the road. And that's something that it's basically a requirement. If an owner-operator is going to bring a passenger, they need to have them insured. And again, through us or a third party, it's up to the independent contractor.
I'm pretty sure Oakley's limit is it maybe not an age, but can't be a toddler. Got to be above a toddler.
Yeah, there's a certain age requirement.
Toddler or above, something like that.
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so that's one. And then a couple others that are kind of out there. There's a couple guys that have fleets that might have multiple trucks, and so they've got a secondary truck and another driver in it. And for those folks, we have a work comp offering, so
That's right.
True workers' compensation for their secondary drivers. So there's a few of those out there. There's not a lot, but it's available for those that kind of want to grow their independent business.
Yeah, because we require them if you happen to have a second truck, which we don't encourage a whole lot of, but sometimes it works out. Then we do require them to get workers' comp on that guy.
Yep.
Instead of VACAC.
Yep. And so then we can provide that coverage, and it works in the same way as the rest of the insurance program, settlement deducted.
And then you want to touch on, I know this is against my rules, but the True Choices.
Sure. Yeah. So we have an offering through TrueNorth called True Choices, which is what we call, if you think about everything we just talked about, we'd coin that the business coverage for the owner operator.
Right.
Then we've got a suite of products called through our True Choices program that's addressing the personal needs of the independent contractor. And so this is again, it's a voluntary program. It's a direct bill program, so they can access it through TrueNorth. But we've got medical insurance, both access to major med and then a limited med program, dental, vision, disability, term life insurance, accident coverage, critical illness. Yeah. And so, an independent contractor, they can kind of pick and choose what they need. They might have health insurance through a spouse, but they might not have access to dental and vision, for example. And so they're able to select, the coverages that fit them that they might have a need for. And we can provide that to them.
It's not a full-blown health insurance program. It's a modified, I guess you would say. Or
yeah, on the health insurance itself, we have we've got kind of access to both, right? We've got we can provide an independent contractor with true major med insurance. What you'll typically find there, those are individually underwritten and individually priced, and they're going to be relatively expensive.
Sure.
And so that fits some. And then for other independent contractors, we've got what we call a limited medical option, which that's going to cover doctor visits, kind of your basic testing. It's going to get you kind of your daily usage type stuff, but it's there's limits to the coverage, right? So it's not going to cover your catastrophic type events. So that's kind of the biggest difference. But it can take care of most of the your kind of your basic, typical, everyday type expenses.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an option. I know we don't push it a whole lot, but that's something that we give them when they sign up. Give them in the pamphlet. It tells about the True Choices, and obviously you get some of our owner operators do it because you said you had like maybe 100 or.
Yeah, I think we got like 120 of the 800 some contractors. So roughly 15% of the fleet's participating in it on a voluntary basis. Inside of TrueNorth, we have roughly 55,000 owner operators insured through all the different programs we have in place. So, be it through Oakley or other motor carriers we're working with, and even a couple associations we support. And so that's that 55,000. The bulk of that's the business coverages, but we have about 10,000 independent contractors insured under the True Choices program.
Cool.
On itself. So we've got it's a really large population. The way that thing's priced then is we're able to get those, each of those policies set up as kind of a master deal. And so there's a lot of price stability in that. It doesn't really, there's not a lot of fluctuation in the cost year over year. So it's a very stable and known commodity, if you will, to the customers that procure that coverage.
All right. So let's get to some of the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Filing a claim.
Yep. Filing a claim.
Frustrating. It can be.
Yeah.
What would you suggest or recommend for people that are needing to file a claim or have filed a claim? And
right.
I know the you don't have to get into all the details. I know we offer them stuff if they've had an accident, but everybody. I mean, as an independent contractor, he's generating revenue every week with that truck, and as quick as he can get back in it or get another one.
Right.
He's got to generate some revenue because these guys are generating a lot of revenue now.
That's right.
And when they're down, they're down. And insurance, everybody wants insurance to be a helping hand.
Right.
And getting that done. And, it sometimes, and I'd say most of the time it is, but you always be frustrated. What would you tell somebody who's going through that?
We send out to all the owner operators that are participating in the program each year. They're getting a claims card along with their certificates of insurance, et cetera. And, and that claims card has the hotline number to call for a claim. And so The best, there's really two things at play. One is if the guy's gotten in an accident with another third party, we need to get Oakley notified first, because we've got a liability exposure that we need to deal with. So process should be they need to call in to Oakley, notify, and get that moving so that we can make sure we're getting kind of boots on the ground around whatever that accident is, because we got a third party potentially injured.
Right.
And back to our earlier conversation around nuclear verdicts, et cetera, the quicker we can get our arms around that, the better we can manage it and hopefully mitigate the cost.
Yeah, we did a podcast with safety one time earlier on, and you guys need to go back and listen to it, because it told them what to do if an accident happened.
Yep.
Here's the important things
Yep.
you need to get while you're there at the accident.
Yes, yes. Then the secondary part, then we're getting to either they've got a claim for their truck or they've got a claim for because they got injured or both. The best thing to do, all of these coverages now are with Great American. And so the fastest, quickest path, Great American has a 24-hour claims hotline. We need to call them. If there's damage to the truck, they've got a network of shops around the country called their Rig Ready Network. They can help advise, if there's a shop nearby. And then they provide towing service as well. So there's coverage for the tow for the damaged truck to their repair shop. If we can get it to one of their repair shops, this Rig Ready Network, one of the cool things about it is these are pre-approved shops. So Great American's gone around the country and they've built a network of 800 to 1,000 shops that are they're known as they're good providers, they're honest, they're quick, and then on top of it, they'll move the truck repair to the top of the stack so we can get it repaired quicker. So it takes priority over just any other truck coming off the street. And we'll get it moving quick. And then behind the scenes, the claims process itself moves faster because there's already a prearranged agreement between the shop and the insurance company. So there's not this negotiation on
pricing,
price.
parts.
Exactly.
I see. I
Yep.
see why they gave their network,
Yep.
because that part, if you go to somebody they don't know, then
That's right.
you got to negotiate probably everything.
That's right.
It could take a lot longer. I see that now.
Yeah. So the quickest as quick as we can get Great American in the game, the quicker we can get moving with repair and hopefully get them to a shop that also can get us top of the stack. For an injury, again, I hate to say it, there's gonna be instances that somebody's really injured and they might not be in a place to file a claim themselves, but as soon as we can get notification of that between Oakley and TrueNorth, we can get things moving with Great American on those. So it should not hold up any type of treatment. It'll just allow that we can get the claim established, and that there's not any type of hiccup down the road as far as treatment. If it's not a situation where the injury's incapacitated the driver completely, again they'll be in a position to be able to make that claim, and Great American can get things rolling. They're going to be able to work with their doctor, et cetera. So we get the thing moving. 9 times out of 10, everything runs smooth. Every once in a while, there's confusion on one side or the other, and so within TrueNorth, we actually have a claims advocacy team that is there to support our independent contractor, owner, operator clients, as well as our motor carrier clients, with navigating that claims process. So when needed, we can get engaged if there's an escalation that's needed, and so we'll get in the ring with the independent contractor and the insurance company and make sure that we're advocating on behalf of our client.
Yeah, that's real good. You're not just left up to the driver.
Right.
You have a contact at TrueNorth that can help.
That's right.
Intervene, contact with
Yep.
Great
Yep.
West or whoever it is, and get something going. So that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can be. Insurance is necessary.
Yeah.
And it's the world we live in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially in trucking, and I know a lot of owner operators, they feel it too. It's costly to a lot of them, but thank goodness we are able to help with that cost.
Yeah.
Through those guys and how they do. A couple more questions here before we. One is I had made me a note here that should these guys be looking to change the value of their physical damage?
Yeah, it's a good
insurance?
catch. Yes, is the quick answer to that. And we typically advise guys to look at that at least, annually. And it's important. Usually, in normal times, it's review what the insurance is only going to pay what the truck's worth or what you have insured for, whatever's less.
So they're going to pay what the market value is?
They're going to pay you for the actual cash value of that truck. And so typically trucks depreciate year over year. And so we're typically telling our owner-operators, hey, review the value of your truck. If you got it, there's no sense in over-insuring because you're not going to get paid
because you
for that.
got it insured for 60. It's only worth 50. You're getting 50.
That's right. Yeah. So typically that's the situation. What we've got right now is almost the inverse, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is.
Is you might have it insured for 60 and it's worth 70. And if there's a claim, guess what? You're going to get 60. Yeah. So we've been telling our customers you need to review, and you might need to bump it up just to make sure that you're not,
Yeah, we actually had this happen a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
A guy, fixed his truck or told it wasn't, it was worth more, but he only had it insured for less.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
It's made that change in this past year. So, to do that, if you guys, owner-operators that are with us, you basically going to have to call Wendy or Megan and tell them how you want to reevaluate. You need to come up with the value now.
Mm-hmm.
You need, before you call us, you need to know what value you want your truck set at because we don't know. We just know we can punch it in the computer and start charging you more held out of your settlement.
Right.
But it's a rare occasion that the value of a truck goes up.
Right.
But that's exactly what it's been doing this past year. So, make sure you've got that value up there where you think it's worth and look at that every so often.
That's right.
Yeah. That'll probably generate a lot of calls for Wendy. She'll probably be covered up. A lot of people listen, but it's true. You don't want that thing you want to get your full market value out of it.
Yeah,
what it's worth.
You take the example of a guy has a totaled truck right now. He's going to have to go get a new truck. And the value's just gone up. It's just the nature of this weird times we're in right now.
It is
limited
crazy.
Supply, yeah.
It is. Our guys, I feel like here at Oakley, we got the best. And we got some of the best owner-operators in the business, which I know we have a unique situation where it's owner-operators pulling our trailers and running under our authority and everything. But, I don't think, and maybe you can explain this where they can understand it and I can understand it, but I don't think they understand how much they help themselves by being safe. They help their insurance cost.
Mm-hmm.
Having a good, safety record and a safe driver makes a world of difference, doesn't it, Trent?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like to my points earlier, they're having a positive impact on the P&L of the company, which ultimately allows for Oakley the ability to further reinvest in your drivers. Right, you're able to continue to provide pay increases, et cetera, because of that positive performance. Same time, the less claims we have on the physical damage, non-truck liability, occupational accident. Those are set up as they're underwritten for the whole group of independent contractors at Oakley. Right, they're specific to Oakley and for that fleet. And so we're looking at that year over year, and we're seeing how many claims occur. And it's really a kind of a basic math equation. For every dollar we take in, if we're paying out $1 or more, then we got to raise rates. If we're able to take in $1 and not have to pay out that much, we're potentially in this position to go the other way. Right? We can start to drive down what the charge is to the contractors. And so every independent contractor that's a participant on the program, and our participation numbers, we're roughly 800 or so insureds out of 820.
Yeah.
So we've got 98% of the Oakley contractors are participating in the different programs. They're all interconnected, right? So each of them has an opportunity to influence the cost that every owner-operator incurs. The other thing that we have built into the program that's kind of unique, and this is specific to the physical damage, because it's the only policy with the actual deductible. So the owner-operators have a $1,000 deductible if there is a physical damage claim, right? We got what's called a diminished deductible provision in place. Right. And so for every year that owner-operator is claims-free on their physical damage, their deductible goes down by $250. And we've got a tremendous amount of contractors that have earned kind of the full
$1,000.
That's right. Yeah, they're at zero. And so
that's great.
Yeah, so that's kind of a nice safety incentive that's in place, and we've had the programs in place for many years now, and you got a lot of folks that are long tenured here as well. How
does Oakley owner-operators compare to other owner-operator companies?
It's a good question. You guys have something special here. I'd put it that way. One, you've got a unique fleet. You guys are 100% owner-operator focused, and it's true owner-operators, right? You don't have a lease purchase program. You don't have company trucks. I mean, you are a trucking company that's fully dedicated to the independent contractor owner-operator. It's, the true, entrepreneurial truck driver. There's not a lot of big fleets out there like that. A lot of them that are of your size in the industry, they've got lease purchase programs. They've got other kind of components to their capacity that are unique. They've kind of got more poles in the water, if you will, on how they go about it. Yeah. And they need that to be able to get there. You guys have been able to get to where you're at because you are committed to a single type of driver. Secondarily, your turnover ratio compared to other clients of ours, because we can see it, and the amount of turnover that occurs in the insurance is lower than typical, which means you guys are doing something really right. Third, your performance from a claims perspective is better than a lot of your peers, and we see a lot more activity in other fleets. And so it's interesting. You can correlate turnover ratio of the trucks typically to more activity on claims.
Really?
Because guys are. Your folks are tenured and they're not turning. That means they also know your business well. They know your customers. They know the places they're going. They know the routes. When you got a lot of new drivers into a company, they're learning. So they're learning a lot of things, which distracts them from their ability just to be safe. And so that's another kind of just unique kind of nuance for Oakley that's cool. Is that
because high turnover can be a nightmare for you guys, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
New information constantly, and I know it's we've always had good low turnover, and that helps me just by you seeing that in your world. Even gives me even more confidence that we're continually doing something right here at Oakley.
Absolutely.
You can't get caught up in some of the negativity because we do things right here and we continue to do it, and it's been a long time doing it.
Yep.
And it shows after so many years, and especially with these guys that we have, these owner operators that we have, and what they do. Just like you said, what they know, they get used to the routes. You can tell, with low turnover, less claims.
Yep.
More money in their pocket.
That's right. That's right.
That's what it boils down to.
Absolutely.
What do you guys do up there in Iowa on the weekends?
Well, we've been rooting for the Hawkeyes, but after this last weekend with
they got beat.
Purdue, it's kind of everybody's licking their wounds this week. Yeah. But it's interesting. Iowa's a state with a true 4 seasons, so we'll be 100 degrees in the summer and negative 20 in the winter and everything in between. But
extreme.
It's extreme, yeah. But
that's good. What do you do on the weekends up there? Anything outside? You got kids. You got twins.
Yeah, and our kids are old enough now. We're doing. Our oldest is playing basketball. All 3 of them are doing dance and whatnot. And so we're busy. We're just kind of all over the place. Yeah.
Man, enjoy it, because before you know it, they may come to you and go, Dad, I'm moving to New York City. That'll floor you.
Right.
Well, man, I can't say enough for you guys coming down, and especially you and doing this podcast with me, and educating our owner-operators and our listeners of what goes on in the insurance world. Give them a little piece of it, to try to understand some of it.
Well, my pleasure. I appreciate the invite. It's just been we view our partnership with Oakley as a partnership, and we've had the good pleasure of knowing you guys and working with you and supporting your independent contractors since 2007. Yeah, and it's been fun to see you all evolve. It's been really neat to support your contractors. It's a special relationship for us, and I appreciate you.
You bet,
giving
man.
me the opportunity to join you today.
You bet. Well, I appreciate you coming and all your information. And listen, guys, if y'all got questions for Trent, call me up here at the office, and I'll get you in touch with him and anything to do with insurance. Because if I can't answer it, which I can't answer most of it, we'll get you with Trent and see if he can. So, once again, thanks for listening, all our listeners out there on YouTube and also on audio. If you don't know, we come out with a podcast every Wednesday, and it's geared to our owner-operators. That's why we call it the Oakley Podcast, Trucking Business and Family. We try to help you guys be successful, because if you're successful, Oakley's successful, and we want to keep that going. So get on YouTube, subscribe, like us, tell your friends about the Oakley Podcast, and join in with us every week on Wednesday. And once again, we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks.